They are there. We started asking questions about tar mats probably September, October, and they essentially denied they existed or wouldn't acknowledge their existence, wouldn't talk to us about them. We've requested extensive surveys. I've requested $1 million from the governor out of the block grant money for us to do our own survey because BP will not survey the surf zone. And they sort of laughed at us to a degree and pushed us off with this. And I'm sorry if I'm getting, it's a long answer to probably what a short one would do, but we have pushed and pushed and pushed. We actually got out, City of Orange Beach, and one of our contractors, and found the tar mats ourselves. So another interesting story. We called a meeting with the British Petroleum and with the Coast Guard, and they showed up, and they denied the captain, the federal on-scene coordinator. This is the top guy for the entire theater. Looked at me and said, "Well, Mayor, when you find one of those tar mats, you call me and we'll come take a look at it." Well, we dumped 40 pounds of tar mat on the table in front of him. So you can imagine his expression on his face. And we had everybody in, we had all the governor's office, the attorney general's office, we had everybody there because I wanted them to see what we're dealing with down here on an everyday basis with these guys in everything we do as a fight. But long story short, went outside, we did a press conference, told them how they were ignoring it. It was a cover up, not a clean up. And, you know, I've learned the media is my only leverage. Magically, within 48 hours, they don't want to call them tar mat, they call them submerged oil mat, shows up on what's called their investigation plan. And within a week, a map shows up in my office of tar mats that they've already identified and GPS. So it's going to be a great book. But the point being is they could be everywhere. We know there's a lot of it out there. We do not know if there's a legitimate technology to remove it. Some of it can be removed with a long reach digger, essentially, if they can get to it. Some of it is very thin and crusty and will break up and make more of a mess and may naturally degrade. We don't know. The trouble is we've got to have somebody studying it and investigating it and identifying it and quantifying it. My concern is, okay, if we can't get it out, then I want it quantified so when those billions of dollars of NERDA money start coming down the pipe, I can start screaming, we got 20 million pounds of oil in our surf zone here. It's not just Louisiana that's hurting. We want our share of that $20 billion. So that's a long-winded answer again to your question, but it's sort of the big picture of what the tar mats offer. We want to locate them, and we want to quantify them, and then we want to identify technologies that, if possible, to remove them where we can. Hopefully, they're going to just bury themselves in the sand. They do show up. Anytime we have a rough surf, like we had during the winter, you have those typical winter storms, we have 8 to 12 foot seas at time. 3 days later, when a north wind comes through, the tar balls show up in mass. They're coming from the tar mats being broken up by the surf. Our concern is with a storm and a 20-foot surge or more, where do the tar mats end up? If they end up in your first floor on the beach, does that contaminate your building? And does the EPA and NOAA and everybody else have to come in and clear the building before we can clean up? If the oil mat is distributed down the beach, intermingled with debris, how do we clean it up? Which contractor? Because it's two totally different types of entities. And that's the frustration. And we've got Senator Sessions and Congressman Bonner now involved in trying to force them to give us answers on how to deal with that. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, but we really hadn't had a rip snorting surge since this happened, like a tropical storm.
Right.
The things we've had have been fairly minor, but we still see after these winter, we still see some things coming in. And these don't come here till we get on the tropical.
Yeah, that's right. And again, I don't want to be negative, but I think you guys should understand what's out there and you be able to take and be interested in what steps are being taken and what needs to be done. I'm gonna let Mike pep y'all up with the good stuff. I think it's important that everyone understands as owners and representatives what could be a worst case scenario. I think that's just very important that we talk about it. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am?
I'm not from this area originally. What is the surf zone? How far out is the surf zone?
The surf zone generally is to the second bar, which is maybe 100 yards at the most. But again, surf zone depends on how rough the surf is,
Okay.
if that makes sense. But the surf zone generally is to the second bar, and from an elevated height, you can see where that second bar is on a really clear day. It's generally 12 to 20 feet deep on the other side of that bar, or trough. But that's the problem, it has not been surveyed. We just don't know where the tar mats are. Are they just between the first bar and the water's edge? But we suspect they're in the second trough and beyond. But no one will spend the money to find them. Anything else?
Mayor, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question. In the interest of the new event center and for all the sports competitions that we're successfully bringing into the communities, is there any hope for relief of the $3.50 toll? It starts to be
Yeah.
long.
Well, I'm glad you, let me talk about sports and then we'll get to the total. One thing we're trying to do, and I'm hoping you guys are reaping the benefits of this, is if you're in the rental program, let me go back to the event center. Student Life is bringing 12,000 students to Orange Beach this year. If we had not bought the conference center, Student Life was moving. They had to leave because they could not get anyone else to give them anything solid that they could hang their hat on. So they were moving to Sandestin or to Destin, to one of the centers down there. That was $250,000 to the city of Orange Beach, and it was $3 million to our economy. For that reason, we really investigated buying it to keep those guys in town. We have a 15-year agreement with them. They hope to go to 28,000 students in the next 10 years if the economy allows them to. So again, major boost. We really want to be the youth sports capital of the South. We're working very hard. I think we have 25 or 26 weekends this year booked with youth events. We want to be the Nashville on the coast. That's our next. And we want to be the Las Vegas wedding chapel on the beach. So those are three areas that we're really working hard to try to create investment and getting people here. What was your question? The toll.
Youth sports in particular are very price sensitive. When you hit the $3.50 toll, it just starts off with a kind of negative entrance.
Well, I need to talk. There's a lot of negotiations going on right now. The governor is dead set on building the conference center to State Park. If he builds the conference center to State Park, he's going to need an expressway to 10 and eventually to 65. And he's going to need a road through the state park to go directly to the conference center. Well, the obvious route is down the expressway through the current toll bridge. But the new director, ALDOT director, is absolutely adamant that this toll bridge is not going to make a ton of money at the taxpayers or with the taxpayers' investment to expand and improve those roads. I agree. We, City of Orange Beach, are investigating the Wolf Bay Bridge, which would be 161 North, which would be in direct competition with the new bridge. The ALDOT director has said he will go west toward Gulf Shores if he has to and build his own bridge. So I been meeting with Toll Bridge for 2.5 years. Met with them a week and a half ago, and I didn't recognize them. They were so humble and so nice. So the threat of competition has gotten their attention. They went to Montgomery last week, and I think they see the need to work with us and not to hold us hostage.